On the day I turned 22, my girlfriend Sarah disappeared without a trace. I kept up appearances, smiling and singing along with everyone at my party, making sure they all had a good time. Her best friend, Jessica, approached me, her expression confused. "Hey, Alex," she explained. "Sarah gets these really bad headaches. She just stepped out to grab some medication. She told me to let you know." By the time Sarah returned, I had already blown out the candles and made a silent wish. She walked right over to me, a cheerful look on her face that she couldn't completely hide. "You went ahead and made your wish without me. What did you wish for?" she asked casually. The people around us started laughing and teasing us. "Alex and Sarah are high school sweethearts," someone said. "He's been absolutely crazy about her since they were teenagers." I could guess his wish even with my eyes closed. It's obvious. They've been together for 7 years. He definitely wished for Sarah to marry him. Sarah overheard them and let out a light chuckle, settling into the seat beside me. "Just so we're clear," she stated, "I have absolutely no plans to get married this year." I raised my glass of juice and smiled directly at her. "That's funny, because neither do I." The entire room fell instantly silent. Every single eye in the place turned to stare at me. I looked at Sarah's shocked face, took a small sip from my glass, and kept smiling. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady, "I hope that for every birthday from now on, you'll be absent, just like you were today." When she finally understood the meaning of my words, her face immediately clouded over. "Alex, all our friends are here," she said, her voice turning cold and sharp. "Can you please not cause a scene? I was only gone for a minute. Is this really necessary?" I nodded slowly and deliberately. "It is." The air in the room grew heavy and awkward. Our friends tried to smooth things over and change the subject, but no one dared to speak too loudly. She stared at me for what felt like forever, a look of pure coldness in her eyes, before she suddenly let out a strained, bitter laugh. "Fine, I'll tell you right now," she declared. "We're done. Grab your things and get the hell out of the hotel room I booked." As I was walking out, I heard her friend, Jessica, trying to reason with her. "I think Alex is serious this time. Maybe you should go talk to him." Sarah's response was sharp and dismissive. "It's the same old pattern. He'll come crawling back in less than 3 days. This time I'm going to make him wait. If I don't, I'll change my name." She didn't know that when I walked out that door, I had absolutely no intention of ever coming back. And the desire to leave her wasn't a sudden, new feeling. It had been building up for a long time. Sarah and I had known each other for a decade, ever since we were tiny kids learning to walk. Our parents were close friends who lived in the same neighborhood. For as long as I could remember, I'd hear her mom saying to mine, "That daughter of mine is always running over to your house. She must have a crush on your Alex. I say we should just arrange for them to get married when they're older." I asked Sarah what that suggestion meant for us. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she looked at me. "It means I can come over and play every day and never have to go home." "Really? And no one will make me go home at night?" She nodded enthusiastically. "Yep. When we grow up, we can be together forever." I was 7 years old that year, and Sarah was 10. From that day forward, I followed her everywhere. We ended up going to different middle schools, but I always got out of school first, so I would wait for her under the big oak tree outside her school gate. She often told me that if I worked hard and got into a good high school, we could attend school together. So I studied incredibly hard, pouring all my energy into it, and got into her top-tier high school with the highest score on the entrance exam. My classes were on the first floor, and hers were on the 6th. I never felt tired climbing all those stairs every day just to see her and walk her to class. But then, she told me to stop coming to see her. She said she was a senior now and was overwhelmingly busy with her studies. One weekend, I brought my homework over to her house, hoping we could study together and spend some time as a couple. She shot me an irritated look. "I already told you I'm busy. Don't you understand? You're being so annoying." Tears immediately rushed to my eyes. We had a huge, terrible fight. Afterward, she didn't try to make up with me or apologize. After a few days of total silence between us, I gave in. I told myself that she had always been so good to me over the years. She must just be under a lot of pressure because of her exams. I needed to be understanding of her situation, instead of throwing a childish fit. Back at school, I waited for her after her late-night study session so I could apologize and try to fix things. The lights on the first floor of the building were all out. On the 6th floor, only one classroom light was still on. I looked up, thinking about going up to check on her, when I saw her walking out of the classroom with a pale-skinned guy. For a second, my heart leaped with surprise. I watched them walk down the stairs, getting closer and closer. On instinct, I quickly ducked into the stairwell, hiding myself. "You're incredible," he said to her. Sarah just laughed. "What's so incredible?" The guy blushed slightly. "I mean, you're so smart. I don't understand this stuff in class, but when you explain it, it all makes perfect sense." I couldn't stand to listen to another word. I clamped my hands tightly over my ears and waited until they were far away before I dared to step out and follow them at a distance. That night, it started pouring rain, a heavy, blinding downpour. My vision was blurry. I couldn't see the road clearly and stumbled, falling into a large puddle. No one stopped to help me up. I looked up and saw them not too far ahead of me. He was giving her a piggyback ride while she held the umbrella over both of their heads. In that moment of confusion and pain, I saw a reflection of how Sarah and I used to be together. That night, I finally understood the reason why she had changed so drastically. In the 3 years that Sarah and I hadn't been an official couple, she hadn't been waiting for me to catch up. She had allowed another guy to get close to her. I stopped trying to see her for a long time after that. After she finished her college entrance exams, it was as if she suddenly remembered she had this little brother who adored her. So, at the end of June, under the bright sun and that same old tree, stood the girl I hadn't seen in ages. I walked right past her, pretending I didn't see her at all. She called my name, her voice as gentle and familiar as ever. "Alex, didn't you see me? I was waiting for you." It wasn't that I hadn't seen her. I just couldn't believe she would actually be waiting for me now. I stopped in front of her. "What is it?" She pulled a thick stack of papers out of her bag. "I heard you have placement exams this semester. I was completely swamped before, but I didn't forget about you. Here. These are all the notes I organized for you. If you study them carefully, you'll definitely get into the best class, just like I did." I took the papers from her and muttered a quiet, "Thanks." As I turned to leave, she stopped me, stepping closer to look me up and down. Her clean, pretty face was suddenly right in front of mine. The unexpected closeness and the fresh laundry scent of her clothes made my head spin. I quickly jumped back a step. She gave a helpless smile, not seeming angry at my reaction. "It's been too long. We've become strangers. Are you still mad at me? You haven't come to see me in forever. I was just so stressed before my exams. I was in a terrible mood," she said softly. "I'm sorry, Alex. I really am. I made you feel bad." The tension I'd been holding on to for so long finally broke. As we were about to part ways, she asked, "So can I tutor you this weekend?" I looked down and mumbled a quiet, "Yeah." After she left, I ran into a guy at the entrance of my apartment building. A pale, slender guy. The streetlights stretched his shadow long, just like the one I'd seen months ago that night in the rain. He watched me with an amused, slightly mocking look. "She didn't walk you home?" he asked. "We live close by. She doesn't need to," I replied curtly. His smile widened. "Sarah is so strange. She'd rather spend 2 hours taking me all the way to the suburbs than spend 2 minutes walking you across the street." "I don't know you. Please move," I said, trying to get past him. "My name is Ethan." Ethan stepped aside, then called out to my back with a mocking tone. "You two are such a good big sister and little brother. Alex, want to know why your dear sister had such a sudden change of heart?" "Sorry, I don't," I called back. I walked straight to the door and got into the elevator without giving him a second glance. As the doors closed, my reflection showed my red-rimmed eyes. I waited all the way until the weekend. I woke up early that Saturday. Sarah used to be waiting downstairs by 9 in the morning sharp. I checked the security camera feed over and over, but there was no sign of her car or her presence. I waited until noon. She still hadn't shown up. I went and took a cold shower, the water washing over me from head to toe, feeling incredibly cold. After I got out, I opened my tablet and started studying, taking notes diligently. If she wasn't coming, I'd just study on my own. It was my own fault for being stupid enough to wait for someone who clearly didn't care. I scoffed at myself for my foolishness. Just then, the doorbell rang. I froze for a second, then dropped my pen and practically ran to the door. Standing there was Ethan. He was wearing a clean white button-down shirt, looking polished and young. But I hated him instantly. I felt like his neat appearance was a total lie. "Sarah went out to buy something," he said casually. "I came to find you first." I immediately tried to shut the door. He was faster, wedging his hand in the doorframe and raising an eyebrow at me. "Is that any way to treat a guest, little man? You've got a lot to learn about manners." "Sorry," I said coolly. "I don't welcome uninvited guests like you." The elevator indicator was climbing floor by floor. When it stopped on mine, Ethan suddenly went crazy, trying to force his way into my apartment. I didn't dare slam the door shut, afraid I'd crush his hand and have to pay for any injury. So I gave him a hard shove away from the door. The elevator doors opened at that exact moment. Ethan stumbled backward, about to hit the floor, but someone caught him. "Ethan, it's not what it looks like, Sarah. Don't blame him." I froze, then slowly looked up, right into her eyes, which were as cold and unforgiving as a frozen lake. She was dressed the same as always, in a pristine white top with a black crossbody bag, looking cool and flawless. She stared at me with an icy gaze. "Alex, you went too far." For a brief moment, I remembered all the years she had protected me, just like this, standing up for me. But now, she was standing on the other side of the conflict. "Alex, apologize to Ethan," she commanded. She had never used my full name before. A wave of intense bitterness washed over me. Why should I apologize? He was trying to force his way into my home, so I pushed him out. "So you admit you pushed him?" She hadn't listened to a single word of my explanation. Hearing that, all the fight went out of me, like my strength had been completely drained away. I leaned heavily against the doorframe. Ethan leaned, against Sarah, gently swaying her arm like a needy child. "Sarah, please don't be angry at him. I know we've been spending a lot of time together lately, so it makes sense he's a little upset. It's my fault for not explaining things better. He probably thinks I'm stealing his big sister's affection." The more reasonable he acted, the more unreasonable and aggressive I looked in contrast. Sarah repeated the word sister, then paused, her face troubled. "We were never brother and sister," she said firmly. My head snapped up, my eyes locking on hers. "Then what are we?" She avoided my gaze, her brow furrowed in annoyance. Ethan cut in at the perfect moment, seizing the opportunity. "It's my fault. You two have known each other for over a decade. How can I possibly compare to that history? I should probably leave you two to talk things out." Sarah grabbed his hand tightly. "Don't go, Ethan!" Her eyes were pleading with him to stay. Ethan stopped moving. When he looked back at me, Sarah's expression was unbelievably distant and hostile. "I'm saying it one more time. Apologize to Ethan." "No." Sarah's face grew instantly darker. She lunged forward to grab me, but I fought her off, pulling away quickly. I lost my balance and fell, landing hard on the cold tile floor. The cold seeped through my clothes, chilling me to the bone. Sarah froze for a second, then moved as if to help me up. I scrambled quickly to my feet before she could touch me. "Don't touch me. Get out. I never want to see you again." Sarah got angry too, her temper flaring. "Well, I wasn't going to help you anyway. Consider this push payback for what you did to Ethan. Now we're even. Ethan, let's go." After I got back inside and locked the door, I finally broke down and cried hysterically. I had no one on my side anymore. The person who had protected me for 10 years was now fiercely protecting someone else. Suddenly, I remembered something important. I ran back to my room and threw every single gift Sarah had ever given me into a large cardboard box. I was carrying the heavy box downstairs to throw it out when I ran into my mom. She immediately spotted a familiar silver necklace hanging out of the box. "Isn't this from Sarah, Alex? Did you two have a fight?" From my room, I could hear my mom on the phone with Sarah's mom, their voices worried. A little while later, Sarah knocked quietly on my door, a red handprint visible on her cheek. "Why are you throwing out all my gifts?" she asked, her voice tight. "They were given to me, so I can do whatever I want with them," I retorted stubbornly. She pointed to her own face. "Thanks to you," she said resentfully. I rolled up my sleeve without hesitation, revealing a large, dark bruise on my forearm. "And thanks to you?" She stared for a moment before realizing where the injury came from. "That's from when I pushed you just now." Guilt immediately filled her eyes, and she reached out to touch my arm gently. I stepped back, quickly. "It doesn't hurt. And I don't need your fake sympathy." Her hand hung awkwardly in the air. After a long, heavy silence, her eyes turned red, as if she were about to cry. No matter how much I tried to push her away, she stubbornly pulled me downstairs with her. She bought disinfectant and ointment and gently applied it to my bruise, apologizing the whole time. I finally stopped resisting her touch, but I kept my chin up, refusing to speak a single word to her. "I've protected you ever since we were little kids," she said, her head lowered so I couldn't see her expression. But her voice was trembling slightly. "I never let anyone hurt you. But now, the person who hurt you the most is me." I dug my nails into the palm of my other hand to keep myself from crying in front of her. "Alex," she whispered, "I promise you it won't happen again. I will never, ever hurt you for someone else again." We talked for a long time that day, opening up to each other completely about everything that had happened. She said, "Do you remember that silly joke our parents used to make when we were little?" I immediately thought of the arranged marriage joke, and my face flushed with heat. She took out the silver necklace and carefully put it back around my neck. "Alex is all grown up now," she said softly. "I can finally keep my promise. I'm 18 now. When are you finally going to grow up and let me keep that promise?" The last emotional wall around my heart crumbled completely. I finally let go of all my reservations and doubts, and just like when we were little kids, I called out her name in a choked voice. "Sarah." She placed her index finger gently on my lips to silence me. In that instant, the wind whispered outside, and the nearby trees rustled softly. The breeze carried her voice clearly into my ears. "I told you," she said, her eyes warm. "We were never brother and sister." The year I turned 18, I got into Sarah's university, and even into her exact major. On the very first day of school, she took me around to all the club parties and social gatherings. "The person I've been waiting 3 years for is finally here," she announced proudly to everyone. Someone playfully punched her arm. "Wow, look at this handsome guy. You're so lucky, Sarah. Yeah, we all need to learn from you. Snatching him up while he was still in high school. The rest of us are stuck being single." She turned to look at me and smiled broadly. "Don't talk nonsense. Alex hasn't even officially said yes yet." Amidst all the teasing and laughter, my head was spinning with happiness. She suddenly squeezed my hand tightly, looking down at me with a gentle, loving expression. In that moment, it felt like all my secret teenage dreams were finally coming true at once. From that day on, I was Sarah's boyfriend, the one she supposedly cherished above all else. That Valentine's Day, under the soft candlelight of a summer night, our blurred reflections in the floor-to-ceiling windows slowly merged into one. Outside, a sudden gust of wind sent flower petals scattering all around us in a red blanket. She kissed my face and told me she would treasure me forever and that she would marry me as soon as I graduated from college. But in the last semester before my graduation, she changed again. She became impatient, dismissive, and emotionally distant. At first, I would argue with her, but she wouldn't try to comfort me or apologize like she used to. After nights of terrible insomnia and worry, I was always the one to go back to her and try to make up. She would act as if nothing had happened, and we would return to how we were before. It seemed like nothing had really changed, like it was just a brief, difficult phase. But something truly had changed. She had started smoking and drinking alcohol heavily. During the day, we were busy with our own lives in different parts of the university or city. At night, we slept in the same bed on the same pillow. She would drive me crazy with her behavior, and I'd pass out from exhaustion, only to wake up again hours later. But in the middle of the night, I'd often see her standing alone on the balcony, staring off into some direction I couldn't see, the cigarette between her fingers glowing and fading. The sky outside was dark, not yet dawn. She wasn't sleeping, and neither was I. She had something deeply on her mind, and so did I. But my mind was full of worry about her. And what was on hers? February 15th, 2025. I came back to the apartment we shared, just like any other day, but she wasn't there. I figured she was out drinking again without bothering to tell me. I was annoyed, but I still went to make her a hangover remedy. I checked the time. It was 1:30 in the morning. When she came home, she always wanted a big bowl of hot noodles, so I went to make some for her. By 2 in the morning, she still wasn't back. I made the first phone call. It went straight to voicemail. I tried a second time and a third time. Same result. I checked her status on a social media app. Last active 1 day ago. I sent messages on every platform I knew. Complete radio silence. I sat on the sofa as the steam from the noodles slowly disappeared into the air. When the first ray of light appeared outside the window, it stung my tired eyes. I finally accepted the terrible reality. She had just left. No explanation, no reason, no goodbye. For 7 days, there was absolutely no word from her. I juggled frantically editing my thesis and repeatedly contacting her mom. No one seemed to know where she was or what had happened to her. The day I was finally ready to move out of the apartment, she suddenly came back. I dropped my already packed suitcase and walked up to her, my voice raw. "Why did you leave?" She said nothing. The belief that had been holding me together instantly crumbled into dust. I couldn't control my emotions anymore. "Where did you go? Why would you just leave? Without a single word? Do you have any idea what I've been through these past few days?" No matter how much I yelled at her, she remained silent and unresponsive. "Say something, Sarah. Say something." "I'm sorry," she whispered finally. I slapped her hand away and stumbled back in disbelief. "You come back with just an 'I'm sorry'? I haven't been able to eat or sleep and all I get is a sorry? Not even an explanation?" She sighed softly, her gaze drifting past me toward the window. The look of loneliness in her eyes looked just like it had on all those sleepless nights on the balcony. The only difference was that this time, there was a tiny hint of struggle in her expression. I cursed at her, grabbed my suitcase, and walked out the door. She still didn't come after me or try to stop me. Being ghosted like that is worse than death. I needed to know why she did it. I went to her apartment a few days later. When she saw me, she smiled faintly. "You're back. I'll make you some noodles." Her voice was gentle, just like it used to be years ago. At the kitchen table, we ate our separate bowls of noodles. The steam was so hot, it almost made me cry. After we ate, she did the dishes while I continued to edit my thesis on my laptop. I sent the final draft to my advisor. Suddenly, she wrapped her arms around me from behind. "I missed you," she whispered. Her hot breath on my neck sent a shiver through me. I laughed, a sad, self-deprecating sound. Her voice was calm and steady, as if nothing bad had ever happened between us. "Let's go to the bedroom. You're back, so don't leave again, okay?" "Okay," I agreed quietly. She went to take a shower, leaving her phone on the bedside table. It suddenly vibrated several times. I picked it up. It was messages from a guy named Ethan. I opened the chat history. "I promised you I wouldn't go abroad, that I'd stay here. But my family was dead set against it. I had no choice. I never got the messages you sent me. I changed my number when I went overseas. I thought you had moved on. Then I heard you got together with Alex. So I never bothered you all these years. But Sarah, you still have feelings for me. 7 days ago, I saw your private X account. That's when I knew. After all this time, you never forgot me." The last message came through just now. "Sarah, are you coming to see me tonight? There's still something I need to tell you. I want to say it face to face." In that instant, I felt like I'd been plunged into an icy abyss. When Sarah came out of the bathroom, she glanced at me, then walked over and touched my forehead with the back of her hand. "Why are you so pale? Are you sick? Do you feel unwell anywhere?" I shook my head slowly. She handed me a towel, her hand brushing against mine. She seemed genuinely surprised. "Your hands are so cold. Are you sure you're okay?" "I'm fine," I lied. "Okay then, you go take a shower. Call me if you don't feel well." I said okay, and took the phone with me into the bathroom. The loud sound of the running shower filled the small room. I searched for the screen name on the private X account, my fingertips numb and cold. I sorted the posts by date, going back years. The first post was from the day after she finished her college entrance exams. "You said you were going abroad. I was so angry. We promised we'd go to the same university together. I know you don't like Alex, so I went and made up with him. I even told him to apply to my university. But I regret it. I realize I don't really want him at the same school. I just wanted to see your reaction, to see if you would stay for me." My heart throbbed with a pain that made it difficult to breathe. I remembered that day she came to give me her study notes. No wonder she'd had such a sudden change of heart. She was just using me to make Ethan jealous. Every single post for years was about how much she missed Ethan. And I was just his stand-in. It turns out she wasn't oblivious to my teenage crush at all. It wasn't that she didn't understand the poems I wrote for her. My dearest was never me. It was Ethan. I laughed until hot tears streamed down my face. I scrolled to the post from the day I started college. Alex likes me. I've always known that. Today we officially got together. He's so happy, but I'm not. Still, I introduced him to everyone I know, because I knew our mutual friends were there. If he tells you the news, will you still get angry for me? I just want to know if your emotions can still be moved by me. All these years you haven't replied to a single one of my messages, but I still love you, Ethan. What am I going to do with you? Suddenly, the room started spinning, and I couldn't breathe properly. I pushed open the shower door. My foot slipped on the wet tile, and I fell. I propped myself up on the floor and called out weakly, "Sarah!" The door opened quickly. She was holding her phone, looking frantic. "Alex, I was just about to tell you, something important came up at work. I have to go out right now." She turned to leave, then remembered me and came back quickly to help me up. "This bathroom floor is a little slippery. I slipped here last time too. There's some medicine in the cabinet for bruises. Put some on yourself. I have to go." I told her goodbye. She didn't hear me. The front door slammed shut, separating us completely. I walked to the window. Her car was just pulling out of the garage. I watched it drive further and further away, then whispered softly, "Goodbye. Goodbye for good, Sarah." Once my thesis was submitted, I threw myself completely into job hunting. 2 months later, I received an offer from a company in San Francisco. After signing the contract online, I finally breathed a massive sigh of relief. My roommate, Mark, told me a few days later, "Hey, your thesis defense is in 7 days. There's something I need to tell you, but I'm afraid it'll mess you up right before your defense." All those years with Sarah, I had tasted all the sweetness and bitterness of a painful, complicated love. But in my 21st year, I finally learned that there was never any real, true love between us. It was all just me being hopelessly one-sided and foolish. Everything that had happened felt like a long, painful dream. Now that I was finally awake, the dream was over. It took me a long time to accept this reality, but I had, so there was nothing I couldn't handle now. Nothing could truly break me anymore. Even on the day I found her private account, I was able to speak to her calmly without causing a fight. There's nothing sadder than a dead heart. That's probably what it felt like. Nothing about Sarah could affect me anymore. "Go ahead. Tell me," I urged him. "You and your girlfriend haven't been in touch lately. I know you've been busy with your thesis and job hunting, but I think she's seeing someone else," Mark confessed. "As I expected," I said flatly. "It's fine." My roommate stared at me, frustrated. "You can put up with that? Dude, how can you still be into such a toxic girl? Wake up, please!" I nodded heavily. "I'm awake. I'm really awake now." The day before my defense was my birthday. Sarah showed up for the first time in a long while. "I know you've been busy with your defense, so I didn't want to bother you. But it's your birthday today. I have to be here with you." She took me back to her place. I smiled as I accepted her wrapped gift. "Thanks. Aren't you going to open it? You always used to want to see what I got you right away." I put it in a cabinet where I kept all the gifts she had given me over the years. She smiled from the side. "Putting it in your little treasure chest, huh? Looks like everything I ever gave you is in there. You've kept it all so well, Alex." "Yeah, I keep it all here. It's easier to throw it all out at once that way." At the karaoke bar, We had a final, quiet fight. This time I didn't cry or make a scene. I just went back to the apartment we shared, picked up the suitcase I'd already packed, and threw away the little box I had always treasured. With absolutely nothing holding me back, I got on a plane to San Francisco. On Alex's first day in San Francisco, Sarah went home to her old neighborhood. In the trash can by the entrance to her apartment building, she saw a familiar little cardboard box. She froze, then walked closer. The peeling stickers on the box were in the exact same places Alex had meticulously put them years ago. She looked up. The light on the 6th floor of his building was on. Alex must be upstairs, she thought. What a child, she thought with annoyance. Still throwing things out when he's mad, just like when we were kids. She was angry, and had no intention of placating him or apologizing right away. She felt she'd been spoiling him for years. Even though he'd been more behaved recently, he had still embarrassed her at his birthday party today. Thinking of that, Sarah decided not to go home to him at all. She took out her phone and messaged Ethan. As she was leaving the neighborhood, she went back and took the box with her. Then she got in a cab to go see Ethan. This was the man she had waited 7 years for. When the one that got away reappears, everything else fades into the background. She and Ethan had a wonderful time together initially. They worked during the day and were inseparable at night, moving from the couch to the bed. Or they'd go out for drinks, letting the alcohol help them open up and talk freely. But one night, she got far too drunk. As she was hugging the toilet, throwing up, she subconsciously called out Alex's name. From the bathroom doorway, she heard the loud sound of a glass shattering on the floor. The noise sobered her up instantly. She spent the whole night trying to comfort Ethan, but he wasn't as easy to please as Alex had always been. He was still angry and cold. Sarah had to take him to a luxury store the next day and buy him 2 designer bags before he finally smiled, even a little. But even when he got the expensive gifts, he didn't light up with childlike joy like Alex would have. He just pouted and said, "The quality at the boutiques overseas is better, but I guess this will do." That day, she suddenly felt like the person next to her was a total stranger. His petulant face didn't match the clean, gentle boy from her memory. From then on, Sarah was careful not to drink too much alcohol around him. Life could have gone on peacefully like that. But one night, she had a bit of a fever. Ethan wanted to go clubbing with his friends. When she told him she didn't want to go, he got angry and demanding. Sarah had no choice but to go with him. When they got back home late, Sarah felt incredibly sick and weak. "I don't feel well," she mumbled. "I didn't eat much for dinner, and now I've been drinking. My stomach hurts. Can you please make me a bowl of noodles?" Ethan was busy editing photos on his phone. He didn't even look up at her. "You had plenty of energy for dancing," he said dismissively. "Making noodles is easy. You can do it yourself. I'm posting to my feed right now." Sarah took out a thermometer in front of him and patiently asked him again to make her some noodles, showing him her temperature. Ethan got annoyed. "Don't ruin my mood, okay? Your pictures didn't even turn out well, and I'm already pissed about that. Now you're interrupting me while I'm editing. For fuck's sake, is your social media more important than me?" Sarah snapped at him for the first time in their relationship. Ethan threw his phone down hard. "Who the hell are you cussing at, Sarah? Let's get this straight. You're the one who begged me to come back to you. My girlfriend overseas introduced me to high society. My quality of life has dropped a ton since I got with you, and I haven't complained. What right do you have to get mad at me?" Sarah's head was spinning, and she was in severe pain. She gritted her teeth and swallowed her pride. "Okay, you post to your feed first." "What's the point of posting now? You've completely ruined my mood." Sarah suddenly thought of Alex. After that drunken night, she had forced herself not to think about him at all. But she had to admit that they had been together for too long. His shadow was everywhere in her life. Before, those thoughts had been passive memories. But this time, she was actively thinking of him and comparing them. She thought, if Alex were here, she wouldn't even have to say anything. He would have noticed she wasn't feeling well immediately. He was so considerate. He would have taken good care of her. She remembered one time she'd worked overtime for a week straight and completely collapsed from exhaustion. Alex had cried. He was so worried about her health. Thinking of that, she remembered something Alex always used to say. The highest form of love is feeling someone else's pain as your own. From that day on, a huge rift formed between her and Ethan. They gave each other the silent treatment, avoiding any real communication. One night, she went back to the apartment she had shared with Alex. Standing downstairs, she felt a sudden, surprising sense of peace and comfort. She didn't dare go up, didn't dare get any closer to him. They had broken up, but she had intentionally left the apartment for him as compensation for all the years she had wronged him and hurt his feelings. She felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. The lights on the 6th floor were still on, exactly as before. He must still be living there, she thought with relief. The thought that he was still there gave her a strange, deep sense of comfort. In the past, no matter how late she came home drunk, Alex would always leave a light on for her, with a bowl of hot noodles and a hangover drink waiting patiently. At that thought, her eyes started to sting, and a sharp pain pierced her heart. She clutched her chest. Why was she sad? She should be happy. Her 7-year regret was finally resolved. Alex was just a substitute for Ethan. But why did she feel so sad? Why couldn't she sleep through the night anymore? She would always wake up, look at the person beside her, and feel a sense of fulfillment, yet also an indescribable emptiness. She never used to think about where that feeling came from. And now, she didn't dare think about why she was sad. But the reason was already screaming at her from deep inside. Sarah suddenly staggered and ran from the building, hailing a cab quickly. She had to get back to Ethan quickly before he woke up. When she opened the door, Ethan was sitting on the sofa with a dark, furious expression. Next to him was the cardboard box. "Why didn't you throw out Alex's things?" he demanded, his voice low. She walked over to the box. "I paid for all of it. It's a waste to throw it out." "Are you keeping it to piss me off, or do you still have feelings for him?" Still have feelings for him? The words exploded in her mind like thunder. The truth she had been too afraid to face was now laid bare before her. She lowered her head, unable to look at him. "Ethan, let's just live our lives," she pleaded. "Please don't ask me anything more." Seeing her reaction only confirmed Ethan's suspicions. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, he slammed the box violently on the floor. It shattered into 2 pieces, and its contents scattered everywhere. Sarah's heart seized with pain. She knelt down immediately to pick up the pieces. Ethan was stunned by her reaction. He watched as she gathered the jewelry and postcards, holding them protectively to her chest. He suddenly panicked. "Sarah!" he yelled. "Don't pick them up!" Sarah didn't respond or look up. She had always gone along with whatever he wanted. But this time, for Alex's things, she didn't listen to him. Ethan's eyes turned red with anger. He snatched a necklace from her hand and yanked it apart with force. "Don't pick them up. Do you hear me? You two are over. Your relationship is broken, completely finished. You're not allowed to think about him, and you're not allowed to pick up his things." Sarah was strangely calm. She didn't get angry. She just stared at him for a long time. Her intense gaze unnerved Ethan. For the first time, he backed down, his voice softening. "Okay, Sarah. Let's not fight. I'm tired. Let's go to sleep." He stood up and walked toward the bedroom. From behind him came Sarah's voice, so quiet it was almost a whisper, but it hit him like a physical blow. "Ethan, let's break up." She paused, then continued, her voice gaining strength. "I think the person I love is actually Alex." I'd been slaving away at my new job in San Francisco for 2 months. Lying in bed one night, I called my buddy back east. "Dude, the pay in SF is insane. I just got my first paycheck. You should come visit. I'll cover everything. Food, hotel, flight." Max's cheerful voice came through the phone. "I was just thinking about it. I just landed at the airport. Send me your location. I'm on my way." I shot up in bed. "You're that fast? Okay, I'm booking a restaurant right now." I left my little 300-square-foot apartment, humming a tune on my way to the restaurant. Max showed up a few minutes later and immediately started showering me with compliments. "The San Francisco air must be good for you. You're glowing, man." I grinned widely. "I think it's the money that's good for me. You should quit your job in Boston and come hustle with me in SF." "I can't. My parents are there," he said, taking a sip of wine. "Oh, but someone from our company is transferring to your office. Her name's Ivy Lynn." That name sounded strangely familiar. I immediately pulled out my phone, opened my high school yearbook photo, and pointed to a tall person in the back row. "Is this her?" Max glanced at it, his eyes widening. "Yeah, that's her. The most handsome woman at our company. Holy crap, man, you're something else. You were in the same class as a total knockout and didn't even notice her? How did you end up with Sarah?" "Sarah's a drama queen for sure," he said judgmentally. "But if Ivy had gone to our university, she would have been a campus legend." I rubbed my nose awkwardly. Looking at her now, she was really pretty and striking. Back then, I only had eyes for Sarah. I didn't even notice other women. "You two know each other well?" "Duh, she's my coworker. Of course, I know her. I even have her on Messenger." I blinked. "Bro, hook me up." I was the one who picked Ivy up from the airport when she arrived in San Francisco. I helped her with all the company onboarding paperwork. I even brought up our high school days, trying to build a connection. But this woman was an ice queen. She barely gave me the time of day. It wasn't until I mentioned we were high school classmates that she finally took a good, long look at me. "It's you," she said, her voice quiet. "It's me," I replied, feeling awkward. That was a weird thing to say. "What about me?" I couldn't help but ask. A faint smile finally appeared on her frosty face. "You used to be so quiet, always keeping to yourself. You're so outgoing and talkative now. I almost didn't recognize you." I gave a dry laugh. "You can't slave away at a job like this without being friendly and social. But yeah, I can be pretty versatile. There are other sides to me you haven't seen yet." "Want to?" I added boldly. "By the way, I'm single." Her gaze deepened, a thoughtful look in her eyes. And how would I see those other sides? "A couple of drinks at a bar tonight," I suggested. "I'll tell you everything." She showed up as promised. After a few drinks, my face was burning, and my filter was completely gone. "You were so cold to me before. I didn't think you'd actually come tonight. What changed your mind?" She stared at the glass in her hand, the amber liquid making her knuckles look translucent. "Because you're single. And I'm single." We played Truth or Dare. I lost the first round. She asked me who I would have liked if it hadn't been for Sarah. I said I probably would have liked her. I kept losing at dice, and she kept asking me questions. By the end, I couldn't remember what I'd said or revealed. I vaguely remember her grabbing my tie and suggesting we go to a hotel. I wrapped my arms around her neck and agreed instantly. The next morning, I woke up to several missed calls from an unknown number on my phone. They had started at 2 in the morning and continued sporadically until morning. Who the hell called me so many times? I wondered sleepily. I haven't pissed anyone off in SF, have I? It's my day off, so it can't be work. Ivy kissed my forehead and brought me breakfast in bed. She glanced at the number on my screen. The area code is from Boston. Is it a friend? Boston. My hangover vanished instantly. I looked closer at the number. A dead memory came rushing back. A lightning bolt. It was Sarah. What did she want? How did she get my new number? I blocked it immediately. It's probably a scam call from overseas, I said quickly. Better not to answer. Might get my organs harvested. Ivy and I were inseparable, our relationship heating up fast and quickly. The rainy season in San Francisco came on suddenly and fiercely. The curtain of rain blurred the convenience store sign outside my window into a fuzzy halo of light. That Friday, I was walking out of the office after work, sending a voice message to Ivy. Hey, your favorite boy is off the clock. Miss me? I do. A cool, familiar voice came from behind me, making me jump with shock. I do. I spun around and was hit with the overwhelming smell of cigarette smoke. Sarah was standing behind me, holding an umbrella over her head. I had no idea how long she'd been there. Her face was the same, but seeing her felt like an old wound tearing open instantly. Your new number was hard to find, she said, her voice husky. Your workplace, on the other hand, was easy. After Sarah and Ethan broke up, she had rushed back to our old apartment building. The light on the 6th floor was still on, as if Alex was waiting for her to come home. She eagerly carried the box upstairs, but when she got to the door, she couldn't bring herself to knock. She stood there for a long time before finally whispering, "Is it that hard for you to just give in? Stop being childish and open the door. I'm here to take you home." Home to the place they grew up. She wanted to take him to see their families as her boyfriend, or even as her husband, if he was willing to forgive her. The door remained closed and silent. Sarah thought maybe her tone had been too harsh. She stood there a while longer, mentally rehearsing a million different ways to apologize, to make it up to him. There were so many things she wanted to say, like how she needed to apologize for not realizing her own love for him, which caused her to break his heart, and that she actually loved him so much. His light was still on for her. So if she was a little nicer now, he would forgive her quickly, right? She poured her heart out to the closed door, but it still didn't open. The door across the hall, however, did. "Miss, nobody lives there. Could you please keep it down? It's late." Sarah was dumbfounded. She stood there for a long time before her trembling hand reached for her keys. When Alex was there, he never let her use her keys. He said he wanted her to know what it felt like to have someone waiting for her at home. So whenever she came back, Alex would always open the door. This time, she opened it herself. She searched the apartment frantically. There was no sign of Alex anywhere. A thick layer of dust had settled on the table. It was obvious no one had lived there for a long time. The woman who was always so calm and collected completely panicked. She desperately tried to find any news about Alex. On the way here, she hadn't been afraid or nervous, but now, seeing how decisively he had left, she finally realized he was really gone. She realized she had lost the love of her life. For the first time, she felt intense fear and a regret so deep it was suffocating her. She didn't sleep a wink that night. Alex's phone was off. She went to the university and caused a scene in his advisor's office until she finally found out where he had gone. She immediately bought a plane ticket and appeared in front of him. As she stubbed out her cigarette, I noticed she was wearing our old couple's ring on her left ring finger. The simple silver band she used to call childish was now glowing coldly in the rainy night. I had thrown my ring away with the rest of the box. I ignored her completely and turned to leave, but she grabbed my wrist tightly. Her palm was hot against my pulse point. "You're not even going to talk to me? At least let me know you're doing okay." "We already broke up," I said calmly. "There's no need for this kind of behavior." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing an IV catheter taped to her arm. "I'm sick. It's not good for me to stand here in the rain. Can we go talk in a coffee shop, please?" "If you're sick, see a doctor," I told her. "What do you want from me, Sarah?" Sarah started to speak, but bent over in a fit of violent, rattling coughing. The woman who had always been so put together now wore clothes as wrinkled as yesterday's laundry. A piece of medical tape was stuck carelessly to her collar. She looked exhausted and haggard. She reached out to touch a stray piece of hair on my temple. "You always used to worry so much when I got sick. You'd feel so bad for me. Don't you feel bad for me anymore?" I turned my head away. "We're done. You were the one who said we broke up. Can you please not be so pathetic and dramatic?" I opened my umbrella to leave. She grabbed my hand again, then froze, her eyes fixed on the ring on my ring finger. "Where did you get that ring?" At the same time, a car horn beeped softly. Ivy's expensive Maybach had pulled up silently to the curb. The window rolled down, revealing her sharp, cool features. She got out of the car and walked toward me. A moonstone ring, identical to mine, was on her ring finger. I saw it, and Sarah saw it too. Ivy spoke, her voice wrapped in the damp San Francisco fog. "Miss, your IV is backflowing. You're bleeding." Only then did Sarah realize she had been gripping my wrist too tightly. A dark red line of blood snaked its way up the clear tube of the IV. She let go of me as if she'd been electrocuted. In that moment, I saw the corner of a paper sticking out from inside her coat. I could just make out the words "stomach bleeding" on the diagnosis report. "Should I call an ambulance?" Ivy asked, pulling out her phone calmly. "You don't look well, miss. We wouldn't want anything to happen to you." I put my hand on hers and shook my head slightly. "Don't bother with her. Let's go." As we turned, away, Sarah's voice, mixed with gasps and coughs, followed us. "Do you remember the day we first got together? You were so happy, and I was happy too." "Stop acting, Sarah," I said, finally turning to face her one last time. "I saw your private X account. That's the day I decided to break up with you for good." Sarah stumbled back a step. Her umbrella hit a lamppost with a sharp crack. A look of utter despair washed over her face. I think she must have remembered what I'd told her years ago, the day Ethan had followed her to my place, and we'd had that huge fight. When she came to make up, I made it very clear. If you ever hurt me for Ethan again, I will never, ever come back. In this moment, we both knew the truth. There was truly no going back for us. From the moment I found out her mysterious disappearance was because of Ethan, that her impatience, her dismissiveness, her cruelty toward me were all because of Ethan, that her 7 years of social media posts were all about Ethan. Our relationship was shattered beyond any hope of repair. Life is a long, dark night, If you keep looking back into the past, you'll never reach the light ahead. We all have to believe that once we get through the darkest times, we will find our own light and future.